think what just happened there was love. And we have to start off in an objective way. Yes, I think love might have come through me. And then when you get used to that, then it's like, you know what? Maybe there's a bit of love in me. Yikes. And then when you get used to that, it's like, maybe there's a lot of love in me. And that's pretty challenging. And then maybe you'll get to, maybe it's all love. Maybe that's all I'm made of. Hello friends, John Dalton here, Further Emergence Podcast, where we go into love, consciousness, and mystery. And in this episode, we're going into our internal landscape, the protection of illness, prayer, acknowledging our positive impact, and beyond current affairs. Okay, this person says, hello, Ola, John. Something strange has been happening lately. I can feel myself growing, shifting, evolving, but at the same time, I feel completely scattered, like I'm caught between who I was and who I'm becoming. And nothing feels solid. I keep coming back to this question, who am I really? Have you ever felt like this? Like the pieces do not quite fit anymore, but the new shape hasn't revealed itself yet. And then they go, oh, abrazo desde Madrid, which I think is like something friendly in Spanish. So yes, I have felt like that. And I continue to feel like that. And it's something I've talked about before, and it's this idea of that there's two parts of us on the inside. There's like the content of us on the inside, and then there's the system that orients us, so we know who we are. So let's say on the inside you have a mountain of shame and a river of sorrow and a meadow of joy and a waterfall of judgment. Now, we would like to change the parts of us that we consider are negative or that hurt us, like the mountain of shame, for example. And that's fine and very understandable, very noble. But there's a part of us that is just in charge of the orientation of everything. So it doesn't see the mountain of shame or the river of sorrow. It just sees mountain, river, meadow, waterfall. That's all it sees. And if we change something dramatically, we might think we're doing a great thing. Like, oh, I got rid of all my shame. And that is beautiful. But the orientation part of us, the part of us that keeps it all together, is like, hang on a minute, where's the mountain gone? There's a mountain here, there's no mountain here. And it just gets the mountain back. Now, from your point of view, it's like, oh, I was shame-free for a little while, and now it's back, okay? So this thing of disorientation it's very easy to miss and get distracted by, and to sort of feel, that's great, I got rid of all my shame, and have a little party. And that is beautiful. But then to also notice that it's disorienting, and that system, which is kind of involved in making sure you're sane and keeping your whole personality together. Like, if you don't think about your personality as one solid thing, but instead a collection of things, then it's easier to understand how one becomes disoriented, because it's like the bubbles of, these are my memories, these are my thoughts, these are my whatever. They start to fragment and drift apart. And then we're like, oh, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm confused. This is a bit strange. This is a bit disturbing. So we it snaps back. So there's like knowing about the disorientation, and being able to, it's not a huge amount you can do with it, because we are in a process of turning unconsciousness into consciousness, so we kind of can't help ourselves. We just automatically keep growing, keep changing. Not much we can do about that. But if we know about the disorientation thing, well, that helps, because then when we become disoriented, or when we start to want to drift back, we get into a relationship and we think, oh, that's brilliant. And then we notice we're like subtly having a go at this person that we love. We go, well, what's that about? And we'll be, well, you're not used to being loved like that, for example. Or we get a new job and we think, oh, brilliant, this is exactly the job I wanted. And then all sorts of weird stuff starts happening, like your car breaks down, or you have some sort of health problem, or you have unusually high bills, that are just soaking up all the extra money that you're making. If you know about this orientation thing, then you can kind of go, oh, yeah, well, that kind of makes sense, because I don't know who I am anymore. So if you're involved in lots of growth and lots of changing, then there's always going to be a feeling of, who am I? I don't know who I am anymore. I used to know who I was, and I'm changing, and it's great, but now I feel weirdly anxious, and I don't know why. That's what it sounds like is going on in what you've written. So yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. The more you know about it, the better, meaning the more you know, oh, this is orientation, and there's two things at work here. And I think being able to separate the two of them out really helps, because when they're not separate, there's like a tug of war going on the inside. Because on the one part, you want to get rid of the shame or the grief or the sorrow or whatever it is, but then there'll be another part going, yeah, but if I change too fast, I'm going to lose my mind. So we can't have that. So let's snap back, And then you don't get into all the judgments about, oh, why am I sabotaging myself? Or why can't I change? All that kind of thing. I find knowing about orientation just helps make the whole process more gentle. And that's always a good thing. Okay, this person says, hi there, John. I was reading your book, Why Do We Get Sick? Why Do We Get Better? And I have to tell you, one line stopped me in my tracks. You asked, what are you getting out of being sick? And honestly, WTF, I think that stands for what the flip? What the fudge? I get that healing has layers, but are you actually saying there is something to gain from being unwell? I'd really like to hear more about what you meant by that, because right now my New England skepticism is kicking in hard. Warmly and a bit bewildered, Susan in Vermont. Hi, Susan. Well, it's a very subjective question, meaning if you're reading my book, something inside you is wondering about this sort of thing. And if you're wondering about it, then it is a shocking question to ask yourself, particularly if you've got a very debilitating array of symptoms. But it's very helpful, I have found. But it's like a very small needle that you have to thread, because it's very easy, particularly if you've got very debilitating symptoms. It's very easy to sort of go, oh, now on top of all this, now it's my fault. Now it's my fault because I'm creating the whole thing. It's not so much that. And when I'm explaining it to people, I talk about winning the lottery, because that's a sort of away from symptoms, and it's easy to kind of see it. So you kind of think, well, everybody thinks about winning the lottery, and everybody goes, oh, winning the lottery would be the best. It'd be so fantastic. Just like people would go, oh, if I could just get better, okay? But then if you look around the periphery of winning the lottery and what it actually feels like, you might start to notice anxiety. And when you probe into that, so in the center there's the party going on, the winning the lottery party going on. But in the on the edges, that's where the anxiety will be. And it'll be to do with things like, well, if I won the lottery, I'd lose a kind of connection that I have with my community, because suddenly I would be very wealthy and all my friends and family would still be the way I was before I was wealthy. So I'd be separate from them in a way. And then what if somebody asked me money like this? I want to give money to my family and everybody, sure, for sure. But what happens when someone asks me for money and I just don't want to give it to them? Maybe it's for a very poor investment, or maybe it's very obvious it's not going to work, or they want to open a shop and I just know that they're not very good with money and they're just going to lose it and it's going to ultimately make them miserable or something like that. Then I'm going to have to say no. Then they're going to hate me. This kind of anxiety. It's similar with getting better. Like, I can remember working with a person years ago, and they had very debilitating symptoms, and we got to the point in their recovery where I introduced this kind of topic. And they had been ill for 20 years, okay, and their whole life was organized around being ill. Their partner was their carer. They were getting benefits from the government as a result, and they were very earnestly wanting to get better. It's not like they weren't. But when they started to get into this idea of what am I gaining, they started to go, you know what? When I got over being annoyed at you, when I got over and I actually began to feel into it, I realized I was very anxious about all the expectations that everybody would have on me. Because for as long as I'm sick, I don't have to, write the novel. I don't have to save the world. I don't have to do anything. And I saw I had another anxiety, that my partner, who's been taking care of me so beautifully all of these years, well, they were going to go, right, finally my turn. Finally, you can start taking care of me for a change. And it seemed like, there was 20 years of them taking care of me backlogged that I was very anxious about. Now, I'm not saying that this person, once they had a look at this, they instantly got better. It was part of the journey. And, it's part of the book. It's in there in the book. So when they, it's not like this is the one, just to find out what you're gaining from being ill and it will all go away. I'm not saying that at all. But it's a very useful question. And it doesn't just relate to being ill. Any kind of situation that you don't like, it's very helpful to ask yourself, what is this protecting me from? Or what am I gaining from this? And when you can ask that with just a genuine spirit of curiosity, not judgment, just curiosity, and write it out maybe. Sometimes writing it out is helpful. If you do that, it's surprising what you'll discover. So, yeah, I know it's a bit shocking and it's a bit disturbing, but it's a very useful question to ask yourself. What's this protecting me from, or what am I gaining out of this? It's a completely shocking question, but in the shock, you can get some very helpful answers. Right, this person says, "Hi John, I have a question that's been swirling around in me since finishing your Navigating the Psychic World training. It's about prayer. Do you pray yourself? And if you do, what do you actually pray for? At the end of the sessions, it almost feels like you are praying when you call in those friendly psychic beings. Is that not a kind of prayer? Or even a form of engaging in the psychic world directly? I thought the whole point was to go to God, or the mystery as you call it. So now I'm just a bit confused and trying to make sense of it all. Thanks a million, Siobhan." Yeah. Well, I should probably give a bit of context. So the Psychic World training that Siobhan is talking about is a training that I have on my website, and it's about the psychic world. And it's basically encouraging people to go deeper, to not get distracted by it, to not get lost in it, because it's very easy to do that. So if you think of it in terms of layers, you sort of pass through the psychic world on your way to the mystery. What do I mean by the mystery is that place that we go to in deep dreamless sleep, where we've got no thoughts, no personality, no body, no nothing. It's just nothing to speak of. Yet when we come back from it, we're refreshed. And it's where we go to, or can go to in meditation, if we make it our focus. And on the way to it is the psychic world. And in the psychic world, everything is more real than here, because here is kind of an illusion. So the more you pull back from here, the more real everything gets. And it contains everything that you've ever heard about psychic stuff. So all the good stuff, you know, all the channeled entities, angels, fairies, guides, spirit guides, you name it, it's all there. There's also all the not so good stuff, all the scary stuff. That's all there as well. And everything, you could say everything in the psychic world is facing the wrong way. Because it's still in the psychic world, it's not facing the mystery, or hasn't gone into the mystery. And it's concerned about the mystery and doesn't like it, or it's disturbing to it. So it's still a bit attached to existence. That's why it's still interacting with existence, whether it's friendly or unfriendly. So the question then about prayer that they were talking about was, for years I knew about the psychic world and just put up with, you know, being messed with psychically, psychic attacks, all the sort of stuff that goes on. And then it occurred to me, again in meditation, wasn't looking for an answer, wasn't even thinking about this. It was kind of like, well, the friendly energies are there and the unfriendly energies are there. It's basically a dualistic thing. So why not just use the friendlies to cancel the unfriendlies? And that's the prayer that Siobhan is talking about. It's basically calling on the friendly energies to balance the unfriendly energies. That's it. Not looking for any help from the friendlies. Not looking for anything. Because the thing is, everything you want is in the mystery anyway. The mystery is kind of boring in comparison, though. Because in the psychic world, everything is rainbows and unicorns and demons and scary stuff, which is dramatic and kind of very interesting. And compared to that, the mystery is nothing to speak of. So it's easy to get distracted. So all you're doing is, with that thing, prayer, it's not really a prayer, is kind of going, okay, friendly energies, can you just balance any unfriendly attention I'm getting? I don't want any help, I don't want any insights, I don't want anything like that. I'm focused on the mystery, thanks very much. But, you know, if some unfriendlies want to mess with me, if you could help, that would be great. That's it. That's all. So, not really a prayer. I don't think of it as a prayer. I think of it more as just like noise cancelling, really. Like those noise cancelling headphones. But I can see how it would sound like a prayer, and I could see how it would sound like interacting directly with the psychic world, which is what a lot of people do, you know. Oh, spirit guides, give me guidance. Oh, help me, or whatever. Which is just opening a door through which, yes, the friendly energies will come, but also the unfriendlies will come too. And I've had loads of people go, oh, no, I can filter out the unfriendly energies. I haven't met anybody who can do that successfully. It's very insidious the way they get in. So I wouldn't do that at all. So it's not a prayer in that kind of regard. It is just kind of noise cancelling. So the other question then about, I suppose, prayer. Yeah, I do pray, but I only pray for one thing. And that is to the mystery, and it's basically, don't stop. Don't stop. Doesn't matter how painful it is, don't stop. Meaning, don't stop helping in this process of turning unconsciousness into consciousness. That's my only prayer, is that I am in tune with the mystery. That's all. I don't pray for, oh, can I have this thing, or can I have that thing, or can I have the other thing? No. Don't pray for that at all. Because I don't really know. I express preferences. I'll go, yeah, can I be great if I had this thing? Or, you know, I think about expressing preferences like, in the same way as if I was having a birthday and somebody said, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, oh, no, you decide. And they're like, no, I want to get you something you want. I go, I don't know, you decide. Okay. So for me, expressing a preference is kind of going, oh, well, I'd like this thing to happen, but I'm not attached to it. And ultimately, I'm surrendered to the mystery in whatever way that unfolds. So I'm not kind of going, oh, I have to have this thing. I want this new car. I want this new job. I want this new person, whatever. Never like that. It's more like, all things being equal, yeah, this is the car I'd like. This is the color. This is the shape. I mean, that's really helpful. It's really helpful to be specific, but I'm not attached to it. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not upset about it. I'm more kind of curious, like, oh, okay, wonder what that all means or how that all works or what's, why it went that way and not the way that was my preference. So, yeah, I do pray, but to me, that's the only prayer. And is it a prayer? I suppose it is a prayer. I just want to be in tune with the mystery. So I'm saying to the mystery, whatever you want, that's what I want. And with the thing about getting involved in the psychic world, no, I'm not involved in the psychic world. And I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. But you can do this kind of noise cancelling, as I was saying. That makes sense to do that to me. And I found since I've been doing it, I get a lot less hassle. So it's worth it for me. And I do encourage it. And yeah, I mean, the whole psychic world thing, it's a big deal. And it's a big, complicated, or seemingly complicated subject. And it's very easy to get lost in it. So if this is something you're interested in, I find that people who take the psychic world training, it's called Navigating the Psychic World. Really, it's just about going deeper into the mystery. But I find that people who take it kind of have had a little bit of dealings with something, some channeled entities or angel cards or Ouija boards or something. They've either had a fright of some kind or they've realized, oh yeah, this stuff is real and not to be messed with. And there's a sort of an openness to it. And if that's you, then yeah, go and have a look at it and take it. It's not long. It's like about an hour and a half of audio. And then there's another kind of hour of answering questions. And again, it's all just from my experience of coming in contact with it, which happens quite a bit in the one-to-one work. So from my end, not so much from the other person's end. So yeah, I think I've answered that. Sponsor time. Well, sort of, not exactly. I don't have a sponsor. These podcasts are free. They're free to receive, but they're not free to make. I don't have a crew. I don't have a video editor. It's all just me. And I do receive a little bit of help from the people on Patreon. And if you're one of those people, thanks very much. But mostly it's funded by me. Mostly all this stuff is just funded by me. I don't have a social media person. I don't have anything. It's just me doing it. If you would like to help, support that. Support the sort of things I talk about: consciousness, love, compassion. If you want to support that kind of future, or me and what I'm doing, if you're getting something out of these podcasts, then I'd really appreciate it if you would help out on Patreon or PayPal. You can just, you don't have to get into Patreon if you don't want to. So if you want to help out on Patreon, it's patreon.com/John Dalton Podcasts. Or if you want to help out on PayPal, it's furtheremergence.com/support. But anything that you can send helps, and then you're a kind of sponsor. And then you can also, people write all the time with the different things they want response to, but maybe you've got something, or maybe you'd like me to do something else, in which case you're very welcome to. So the rough idea is, if you met me in person, would you like to have a cup of tea with me? And if you would, then you sort of can, the tea part anyway, because for roughly the price of a cup of tea, depending on where you are in the world, you can support what I'm doing on Patreon. And if you would do that, I would really appreciate it. It would help out a lot. Thanks very much. Back to the episode. This person says, greetings, John. I've listened to a lot of teachers over the decades, gurus, mystics, therapists, you name it. But there's something about the way you speak that really lands with me. So thank you for that. I have a question that's been sitting with me for a while, and it's about claiming power. I still find it hard, even after all these years, to fully acknowledge the positive impact I've had on the people around me. Why is this so tough? Especially for someone who's been walking the inner path for most of their life. Peace and gratitude. This is a good question. And very easy to, I don't know, it's a very subtle kind of question. Because we're very used to giving ourselves a hard time, and we're very used to seeing our negative impact and kind of go, oh, I'm such a dope, I'm so stupid, what did I say that cruel thing, what did I say that awful thing to that person? You know, this is very familiar. Nothing new there for us. We're very used to doing that. The difficult thing, the hard thing, is the opposite, to kind of recognize the positive impact we have. Because, okay, I'm using the word positive, that's nice and distanced, isn't it? Oh yes, I think I had a positive impact there. Really, I'm talking about love. That's very, very, hang on a minute, love? What I mean by that is to kind of go, oh yeah, something happened there through either my presence or through something I did, and it looks an awful lot like love, meaning I think maybe some love might have come through me. I think maybe there might be a bit of love in me. Oh my God, that's so confronting. Because one of the things it seems like we're doing here is, everybody's doing here, is turning unconsciousness into consciousness. And one of the things about unconsciousness is it's separated from love in lots of different ways. But because we all have unconsciousness in us, we are very, I don't know what the word is, predisposed to feel like we are disconnected from love. Love is an outside thing. It's something that people do to us, if we're lucky. That, you know, it's like maybe if I go outside, it'll rain on me. It'll get a bit of love rain. It'll rain down on me, you know? Last thing we think of is that we are love. Didn't mean to shock you by saying that, but it is very shocking. I mean, as a concept, yeah, sure, of course. You can get there immediately. But as an embodied experience of, yeah, I think what just happened there was love. And we have to start off in an objective way. Yes, I think love might have come through me. And then when you get used to that, then it's like, you know what? Maybe there's a bit of love in me. Yikes. And then when you get used to that, it's like, maybe there's a lot of love in me. And that's pretty challenging. And then maybe you'll get to, maybe it's all love. Maybe that's all I'm made of. And once you begin to be open to it, then you can start to see it. You see it as you walk down the road, you know? You're not particularly smiling, or you don't feel like you're particularly smiling, yet people are kind of glowing or responding to you. And you're like almost looking over your shoulder, like, who? Is there a celebrity behind me? What's going on? Why is that person glowing? You know, or you happen to notice somebody in a bit of distress or something, or just a bit down or whatever, and it doesn't feel like you're doing a big deal. You're just noticing them and going, is everything all right? Or you maybe you don't even say that. Maybe you just, you know, said you want a cup of tea, or maybe you call someone, a friend of yours pops into your mind and you just call them. You don't know why you call them, and you don't think it's a big deal. And for them, it's like, oh, you called just when I needed you to call. Okay, and you're like, oh, really? Oh, okay, great. And it doesn't seem like much. Now, I'm not talking about the stuff we get up to, where we do things and then we expect to be noticed and appreciated, and then we get all upset when we don't. That's not what I'm talking about. We're all familiar with that, and the difficulties of that. Now, I did so much, particularly if you've got any kind of codependency issues, you'd be very familiar with that. Like, here I am being wonderful, so giving, and being a martyr, and no one's noticing. No one's noticing me bleeding here, I'm not talking about that. That's familiar. We're all used to it. If you are. I'm talking about the even more confronting thing of when you go, you know what, I think there might be a bit of love around here, a bit of kindness, a bit of goodness, and I think it might be coming out of me. And seeing that reflected back and kind of standing in the face of it, standing in the face of the reflection, or somebody saying to you, you have made such a positive difference in my life. Just your presence, or that time you called me, or whatever it was, I really, really value you, just you. And that sounds lovely, doesn't it? It sounds like, oh, that'd be great. It's so confronting. It is so confronting, and we bounce out of it like, oh no, stop it. No, it was nothing. It was nothing. I didn't do anything. Now stop that. Stop all that now. Come on. Right? That's what we do. Right? Instead of like the difficult thing of just standing there and taking it, letting it in. Like, this person is giving me feedback about love, the love they see in me. Very, very difficult. So I understand. I don't think it gets easier. And it's something, weirdly, you have to be conscious of and work at a bit. When somebody gives you some sort of positive reflection, or you register, yeah, I think that happened because I did that. And then you automatically want to go, nah, that wasn't me, that just would have happened anyway. Or you sort of talk yourself out of it. Just sort of go, no, let me just stand in this. Let me just stand in the impact of me in this situation or this person's life. Yeah, not easy, but I think you have to do it to really own who you are. Okay, hey there, John. I've been following your work for a while now, and I really respect the depth and clarity you bring. It's rare, and it cuts through the noise. That said, something has been nagging me. With everything going on out there, war, politics, climate, AI, you hardly mention any of it. I'm curious, how come you don't talk about what's happening in the world? Appreciate your perspective. Do I not? I don't much. Because it's, well, for a couple of reasons. I think the things I do talk about are kind of timeless, in a way. And what goes on in the world has been going on in the world for a long time. It's different, of course, but the themes are the same. And it's just unconsciousness being turned into consciousness. And the feeling of things are worse than they've ever been, that's constant. The next generation is terrible, that's constant. Every generation thinks that. So it's like, it just goes on like that. And the terrible things happen, that goes on. Wonderful things happen. A lot more wonderful things happen than we are encouraged to look at. And I think the most helpful thing is the sort of things I talk about, which is like what's going on inside you. And that the more you can discover and work through your own unconsciousness, the more that actually impacts the bigger picture. And as I've said before, if you're moved to go and do something about something, great, go and do that. But if you're not, then face that. I'm not moved to go and do anything about this. That's fine. But keep going on with looking inside and working through your unconsciousness as consciously as possible. The more consciously you can work through your unconsciousness, the more helpful it will be for the bigger picture. That's my observation, and that's my perspective. I'm not saying I'm right, because you can't, nobody knows, you know. All you can do is find something that works for you, because, you know, I know people who are, like my mother, for example, was very focused on the news, because in her generation, which came out of World War II, and all sorts of terrible things came to light after it, and she was like, well, I didn't know, and if I'd known, of course now we know everything, and I don't know if she would have done anything, but for her it's like, no, I need to keep up with the news because I don't want that to happen again. And kind of missing that there's a lot of manipulation goes on in the news these days, and the news is very skewed towards unconsciousness and how terrible things are. So to ingest the news is a bit like ingesting junk food and thinking you're going to feel healthy as a result of it. You probably won't. You know, I think with any kind of content that you consume, it's always good to kind of think of it like food and go, how do I feel after this? And if I feel more afraid and more upset and more despairing, is that how I want to feel? Now, I know there are lots of people who go, yeah, but that's what's really going on. That's the real reality. That's fine. If that's where you see things, then that's fine. I'm just talking about, responding to this person's question about why I don't talk about it. Because to me, it's like, you can just, if you read history, and I don't, it's not like, you know, I'm in there with the history books every night, but I know enough about history to kind of see the repeating patterns of things. And every period of time that a person is born in has its things going on. And, you know, we've got the things going on in our time in history that are going on now. So for me, I'm not moved to do anything particular about anything that's going on. If I was, I would. I know myself well enough to know that if I was moved, I would. So I just have to sit with the pain of kind of the suffering of humanity in different ways. That's very difficult. I do work behind the scenes in the way that I can. You know, there are Tibetan monks who pray every day in their monastery, and that's the way they do. And then there are people on the front line, aid workers and whatever. And I think everything has its place. So I don't talk about it because to me it's not as important as the things I do talk about. But I'm conscious of what's going on. I do know what's going on, even though I don't seek it out on the news, like my mother. I still do know what's going on. And it's heartbreaking and inspiring. The terrible things are heartbreaking, and the inspiring things make me weep. They're so beautiful, the amazing things that people are doing around the world. So that's why I don't talk about it that much. Let's not say it's not a rule, just it doesn't, of all the things I could talk about, I prefer to answer your questions or respond to them. I don't think I have answers. It's just my perspective. All right, that's all I have for you this time. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.